Welcome and thank you for tuning in. You're listening to the Beyond 50 radio program. I'm Daniel Davis. In these troubled times where many people have faced foreclosure and lost a lot of their income and savings, we're trying to find many ways that we can rebuild ourselves as well as our lives. On the program today, we're going to be talking about something that might kind of appeal as well as interest people. That is the fact that just around the corner, we hope that it's a short corner, that a lot of people will start seeing a boom in the real estate market. The book is called Buy and Hold Forever, How to Build Wealth for the 21st Century, and its co-author Steve Dexter is joining us here on the Beyond 50 radio program to tell us how we can go about doing that and what the opportunities are. Steve, I'd like to welcome you to the Beyond 50 radio program. How are you doing today?
I'm fine, Daniel. How are you? And thank you for having me.
Oh, you bet. I'm doing well. Now, this here, a lot of people might think, really, there's a possibility that we can get back into the real estate market and actually do well over time. Tell us about this.
Well, to think like that, you have to be a bit of a contrarian. Much distress is all around. Foreclosures are in the news. People have been losing their houses. But this actually, to buy real estate, is the best time. When there's the sound of cannon, it's time to go ahead and enter into buying real estate. So I'm saying to people, for the long term, you're going to buy properties oftentimes below replacement value. Mm-hmm. What we do is we rent them out, and there's a high demand for rentals right now. Rental appreciation is about 2 to 3% nationwide, so we're seeing rents go up and vacancies go down. It's a great time to start buying and holding if you haven't got any real estate so far.
Mm-hmm. Now, what is the best way for a person listening to this program today to begin the process of doing what you suggest in your book?
You need to have cash or the ability to borrow the cash, and here's why. The reason real estate assets are in such great values right now is that there's no liquidity in the market. The banks really aren't lending much money. The underwriting guidelines are tight. So if you have the ability to pay cash for a house or have the ability to borrow it, you're going to find yourself an advantage. The key is to have cash and nobody else has any. And if you have the ability to do that, we have investors right now that are making 7 to 8% cash and cash returns, sometimes higher. And that's just the cash return, not counting the benefits of amortization, appreciation, and tax advantages as well.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds suggested that if you're saying, have the cash on hand, about how much cash are we talking about here to get started?
Well, many markets around the country, you can find stuff $60,000, $70,000 that will rent for $800 or $900 a month. In California, for instance, here in Orange County, which is a high-priced, wealthy county, we can find two-bedroom condos for $90,000 to $100,000 that rent for $1,200 to $1,400 a month, which is a very good return on your investment. So, but many Midwest markets, many southern markets, you can find houses below $70,000.
Okay. Now, what's really interesting, people might think about this right off the bat as, going out and buying homes, but you actually also cover commercial property as well. Tell us about that.
Well, commercial property is a great bargain these days. They're bargaining in the regard that rents are up, and you don't have as much distress in the market as you have with single-family houses. Mm-hmm. They didn't go through the foreclosure binge quite so much as single-family houses, so they're a bit more pricey, and loans, surprisingly, are actually easier to get on multi-units. They're more expensive to get, but if the property pays for itself and the rent flows are healthy, then the underwriting guidelines have to do with the actual asset itself, not a certain person's personal ability to pay that loan.
Mm-hmm. Now, we were talking earlier about buying and owning a home and then having it rented out. Are people renting a lot more often these days?
They definitely are, Daniel. We have the short sales and the foreclosures and all the people that are losing their houses. Many of those people are needing to rent. Here's a case in point. I had a house that came up for rent last August, a year ago, and the tenant gave me notice, and the day they moved out, the new tenant moved in the very next day, so I had 0 days vacant, 0 days lost rent. This person came from a short sale. Their house was getting foreclosed on. I rented them the house for $1,650 a month, and their $3,800 house payment that they left, their actual situation was improving. Granted, they're renting a house now. They don't own it, but their cash flow is better now because now they have the same neighborhood, the same school districts, the same amenities for, half the price.
Mm-hmm. I think what's really great about the book, Buy and Hold Forever, is that it's extremely detailed. I mean, this is something you're going to have to put some time and effort into to learn how to do. It isn't just going to be a quick 1, 2, 3-step how-to book. And you've got a great resource as you talk about the use of the Internet. And, in fact, I kind of like the title of that chapter, Use the Internet to Buy Real Estate, Getting Started and Continue Your Education. Education, education, education. Do your homework. That's really the big key here for something like this.
Oh, absolutely. In that chapter on the Internet, I have about 100 or so websites that I use every day. Mm-hmm. To find property, to evaluate it, to find out what rents are in certain areas, to talk to people that are gurus that have more knowledge than that I learn from. There's a whole wealth of knowledge in that book that I'm really proud of it.
Now, what are some of the best websites that you suggest according to your book?
Well, there's one that I'm using right now. I'm looking at a property actually this property is in Phoenix, and I don't know what the rents are, so I'm going on this website that accesses about 200 different websites on houses for rent. This website is called www.rentjungle.com, and rentjungle.com is telling me on a map what houses are currently out there for rent and what apartments are out there for rent in my geographical area. So I can find out a lot of information about the rentability and see if I want to buy a house or find a house in that area that's going to cash flow. Mm-hmm. And that's just one thing. And then there's lots of websites you can use to find bank foreclosures, REOs, plain foreclosures. There's a lot of great information in that chapter.
Now, this would be also a time where a lot of people are looking for opportunities to build income, cash flow, as you mentioned earlier, as well as, big income to actually perhaps wealth. And this is those times that you also take a look at those late-night TV shows that tend to talk about no money down, and this has been around for quite a few years now. Tell us, that there seems to not really be very successful. Why is that?
Well, the late night gurus. I'm a partaker of a lot of different kinds of information, and if somebody's got something new, I want to hear about it.
Sure.
So the guys that are out there, the basic information, much of the information is good and true and works if you work it. But where people fall off is not so much the gurus that maybe their information is good, maybe it's average, maybe it's not so good. Where people fall off is they don't take action on what they learn. Right. The key to be successful in real estate is to find some ideas that you can work, that you can do, and put energy behind those ideas and work it. Anybody who has the ability to really, put things into action will be successful in real estate investing.
So now, in this day and age, there's still the no money down scenarios. Those do exist, right?
Well, yeah, there is. You're using other people's money, and sure, there are. I'll give you a case in point. If you have the ability to find a deal below market, and you're successful at that, then investors will find you. I have a nephew in San Antonio who's buying a house, no money down. Now, we're flipping this house. This house is not going to be a hold, but he's buying this house, no money down. He's fixing it up, and he's going to put it on the market for resale. And then we're going to split the profits. That's the way he's buying a property, no money down. So there's a whole host of strategies that you can find money that will be attracted to the assets that you can find at discount.
Okay. Now, the other thing I've also heard a lot of people talk about, but this day and age it probably isn't a good idea if you want to build wealth, is they talk about buying and flipping homes. And that's not what we're talking about here, although if that's something somebody wants to do, by all means do it. But it sounds to me like, why would you sell your asset?
Well, some people do that. They flip properties, and that's their living. That's their job. They're rehabbers. These professional house rehabbers. They buy, fix, and flip. And the TV is full of flip this house type shows. Well, you can do that, and you'll have a profit from the house. But then you got to go do it again and again and again. Mm-hmm. It becomes a job. So I say yes. If you're going to flip to keep. Flip and use those profits for cash to buy properties to hold. And the cash flow from the rents that you receive from these properties will sustain you basically forever.
Oh, okay. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. On the program today, we're talking with Steve Dexter. The book is Buy and Hold Forever, How to Build Wealth for the 21st Century. Now, when it comes to getting involved in buying or investing in real estate, location, you always hear, is pretty important, but you can probably create opportunities if you just know what it is you're looking for pretty much anywhere, couldn't you?
Yes, everywhere you are, anywhere that's around you, like where you live, there's opportunities. I don't care if you're in California or Oklahoma or Texas or Florida, there's opportunities. The key is to know what you're doing. If I'm going to find a property that I'm going to rent out, I got to make darn sure that property is going to rent, and it's going to rent quick, and it's going to rent at the price that I think it's going to rent. So I have to do a lot of due diligence to find out what I'm doing, because I'm risking my money or other investors' money to do so. As long as you know the market, what the values are, and how quickly something will take to resell or to rent it up, depending on which strategy you're doing, then you'll do fine.
Okay. The reason I was thinking about that is I was thinking there was a time where I was reading about real estate, and you have federal participation in housing. In fact, you actually have a subnote there in the book, whereas the government will actually, if you show a good history of being able to manage properties, as we're talking about here, that you can kind of get into government-subsidized housing and get involved in that, and they kind of sort of float the money for that. But describe how that really works and how that can benefit somebody if they're interested in moving in that direction.
Well, first off, the government's involved in the real estate market in a lot of ways that people don't even really think about. The government subsidizes FHA loans, Federal Housing Administration loans right now. As a matter of fact, the government subsidize the mortgage market right now. They're really the only big players in the market. People can also use VA loans by VA foreclosures, and the VA foreclosures are also subsidized by the government. These loans you can use, the VA loans, anybody can do it. You don't have to be a veteran to buy these VA foreclosures. You can use the VA loans, which are easier to get than regular loans. These Veterans Administration repo loans are actually quite easy to get. And you can buy houses in California for 5% down, and the underwriting is a lot more lax than just regular loan programs. Also, another program you can take advantage of is the Section 8 program. Rents will be subsidized in some cases by the government, people that undergo the Section 8 program. I have 3 properties in Las Vegas that are Section 8 renters, and the government pays me the rent.
Ah, you gotta love that.
Yeah. There's some disadvantages to everything that I'm talking about, of course. Section 8 renters, since they're not putting a lot of money into the rent, maybe they don't take care of the place as well as a guy who does, pay the whole rent. So you have to kind of balance that out and be particularly specific about what kind of renter you let into your house.
Now, the term risk, usually people kind of cringe when they hear something like that. But truly, what you, as people educate themselves and they do their due diligence and they do their homework, you can learn to certainly manage and even leverage risk. Tell us about that.
Absolutely. Being an entrepreneur is risk. Being a real estate investor is risk. The only no-risk, total risk-free proposition is a bed at Leavenworth Prison. There's no risk there.
I think there'd be some prisoners that might disagree with you, but we'll go with it.
But so risk is mitigated by information. Mm-hmm. You mitigate risk by having the correct information. So I've always been a seeker of knowledge. And also, I seek out people that have done it before me. You know, there's a lot of landlords, there's a lot of investors that have been doing this a lot longer than I have. I do what they do. I listen to them, I call them up, and get their advice all the time on things that I'm doing, how to handle a tenant, where to buy a property, how much to pay, these kinds of things. And that helps me because the road to real estate success is well trod by many people ahead of me that have gone on this trail of producing wealth. And I just, basically replicate and model what they've done.
Yeah, there's no reason to actually change the system, is there?
You don't need to reinvent the wheel. It's been done before.
Mm-hmm. I know. It's really amazing that when in 2008 we were receiving the news about what was about to happen with the U.S. economy, you hear a lot of people just, oh my goodness, what are we going to do? It's sort of like the herd just followed that direction, and I think in some cases there was a self-destruct pattern just based on thinking, well, it's inevitable, so I'm going to go ahead and have those habits. But at the same time, I was kind of flicking a switch and thinking, wait a minute, there's going to be some tremendous opportunity here. And obviously, you were involved with real estate before this. So what was that experience like for you when the bomb was being dropped, so to speak?
Well, I quit buying property. I went on a spree from 1993 to 2003, and that's when the market was rising. And I saw in 2004, that's when I bought my last house, actually. It was in 2004, because things were getting pretty frothy. And I just did not feel comfortable. The values were getting high, the rents weren't keeping up, and I saw a lot of opportunity to buy houses, but I just didn't buy anything. And then when things started going sideways, that's when I figured out, well, it's time to, go to cash. And so I sold some properties, I took loans out on others, and I just took some cash and I sat on it. Now I'm using that cash to invest and to lend and to, joint venture with people. So, I really can't really say that I knew exactly what I was doing all the time, but the signs were there, and I had enough people telling me enough of the right things where I kind of did things correctly, and I made that okay. And I'm doing okay now.
Yeah, obviously. Is there a website people can find out about this book? And
Sure.
Go ahead.
You can go to my website, which is www.stevedexter.net. Steve Dexter is one word, STEVEDEXTER, stevedexter.net. And you can buy my books, you can read my blogs, you can read my articles I wrote, you can order my books, buy my books from that website.
Very good. Steve Dexter, thank you for joining us here on the Beyond 50 radio program. I mean, this is an extensive book. We can't cover everything, but, at least give people a taste to get started, and it's all about doing your homework.
I appreciate being on.
Thank you again.
All right, bye-bye.
We also want to thank you, the listeners out there, for tuning in. Again, the book is Buy and Hold Forever, How to Build Wealth for the 21st Century. Our guest, Mr. Steve Dexter. We want to encourage you to visit us at our website, which is beyond50radio.com. That's the number 50. Sign up for our free weekly e-newsletter as well. I'm Daniel Davis. Thank you for joining us. This is the Beyond 50 radio program. And remember, live your day past halfway.